Hi, I'm Kaylee, and this is my vlog for 30 books in 30 days, and today is day 3. Before I dive in to how the first 3 days have gone, I'm going to reach back here to our Booktuber Shoutout book, and we're going to shout out somebody randomly. Today's shout out goes to Abby Salter. I'll leave a link to their channel down in the description. Be sure to go over and subscribe to them, and please do subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up if you were excited about the 30 books in 30 days readathon. The first couple of days of September, I was off to a little bit of a rocky start and had a little bit of a change in my schedule and then did not get my reading done on day 2. But what I was supposed to have read on day 2, I actually listened to this morning as an audiobook. So that helped me to catch up, and now I'm pretty much caught up. I've still got a little bit more reading to do today. So on day 1, I read The Famous Five on a Treasure Island by Enid Blyton. In this book, 3 siblings go to visit their cousin, and they explore a small island just off the coast. One day, a storm uncovers a wrecked ship that had sunk years, just generations ago. The storm throws the sunken ship up onto the rocks, and the children are able to go and explore through it, and they discover a treasure map that leads them to the ruins of the island where some gold ingots were hidden years before. So the name of this series is The Famous Five, and it took me about halfway through this first book to realize that the 5th person of The Famous Five is actually the dog. I kept waiting for another character to show up in the story, and I was just wondering, where is this 5th person? But I was a bit disappointed to realize that the 5th person is the dog. I really enjoyed the mystery of this plot and the treasure hunt and all the adventures that the children have, but the plot is a bit slow. It just takes a while for things to get going. However, the writing is just so charming and adorable that I didn't mind that the plot was slow. I still really enjoyed it. There are also some really beautiful ink illustrations in here that just sparked my imagination. Then I read the second book in the series, 5 Go Adventuring Again. This time, the 3 siblings are visiting their cousin at the Christmas holidays instead of the summer holidays. The children have all made such poor grades in school that they have to have a tutor over the winter break to bring them up to speed and get them some better scores. Mr. Rowland, the tutor, is friendly but strict. However, the dog, Timothy, does not like Mr. Rowland, and Mr. Rowland hates dogs. And that enmity between them makes the children kind of suspicious of Mr. Rowland. When they discover an old scrap with some Latin writing on it, they are forced to ask Mr. Rowland for help to translate the Latin. Could there be a secret in the house that goes back for generations, an ancient secret in Latin? I really liked the mystery of this plot as well. It's a little bit less adventuresome, and it's more about the clues and the mystery and kind of the suspense. Like, is Mr. Rowland a good guy or is he a bad guy? We just don't know. Again, the plot is kind of slow, but the writing is just so charming that I didn't really mind. The clues of the mystery are just kind of unraveled a tiny bit at a time, and it was pretty obvious where the mystery was going. So I got a little bit impatient with it, like, okay, let's just get on with it. I already know what's gonna happen. I enjoyed both of these books. I gave them both 3.5 stars. I'm also trying to read through a bunch of the short stories and poems and essays that I still have left in the portable Kipling. So yesterday I read The Village That Voted the Earth Was Flat. This is about a group of men who are stopped in their motor car at this speed trap tiny little town, and the judge is just so mean about giving them a fine that they decide, you know what, they're gonna take down this judge, they're gonna take down this town. And various of these gentlemen own newspapers, and so they start very gradually unfolding their devious plans to basically just ruin the reputations of everyone in this town, including the judge. You have to admit though, people in that town were really mean to them about this simple speeding ticket. So I kind of don't blame them for taking their revenge. However, very quickly, the stories that they're publishing about this town just seem to take on a life of their own, and it kind of gets out of hand. By the end, I was just like, what is even happening? And in the beginning, it was like really clever and funny. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is just wild. Isn't this just the craziest, silliest story? But by the end, it just got a little too out of hand, and it was just felt kind of unbelievable. Like, what? That would never even happen. That's just ridiculous. That's idiotic. So I liked the beginning and I liked the premise, but by the end, I was just kind of fed up with it. So I read a couple more of the poems that I needed to read. I read That Day, which is all about a squadron or something of soldiers who basically run away from the battle and they get punished, and they're kind of like reassigned to grooming camels because everyone's so ashamed of them. So that was weird. And then I read another poem, The Ladies, which is all about a guy's various different romantic attachments. And yeah, I don't know. That one was kind of weird too. So I still need to read The Sergeant's Wedding, the next poem in the Portable Kipling. If I can get that read today, then I will be all caught up and ready to dive into day 4 tomorrow. So it is day 4, and I've just got back from church a little while ago, and I've been doing some more reading. So last night and a little bit today, I've read 2 more of the short stories from Rudyard Kipling. I read Brother Squaretoes and A Priest in Spite of Himself. It wasn't until about halfway through that I realized I think those are excerpts from Puck on Pook's Hill, which I have actually read before. So this is the part of the story where the 2 children in Puck of Pook's Hill are listening to another character, Pharaoh. His name is Pharaoh. I don't know why. It's kind of weird. He's telling stories about when he was growing up in colonial days and how he met George Washington and how he met Talleyrand during the French Revolution. So it's kind of interesting because there's these little tidbits of history in there, but of course it's mostly fictional. I started last night reading We Live, and I finished it just a few minutes ago, right after church. I ran home and had to read the rest of it. So this is about an apocalyptic world where the end of humanity is coming. Humanity is about to become extinct. And there are these aliens who say that they will rescue 5,000 children. So if you find one of these special alien technology bracelets, put that bracelet on a child, and then the child has to travel to one of the beacon sites where they will be, like, I don't know, magically beaconed up and they will be rescued. So Tala is helping her little brother Hototo to travel through many dangers to reach the beacon in time. They are attacked by wild animals and greedy humans, but Tala vows to keep her little brother safe. I was very intrigued by this apocalyptic plot. It's really interesting to learn about this strange Earth where there are mutant animals. Humanity is just limping along in its last days. One of the really, really cool things about this graphic novel is that there's actually a soundtrack on YouTube. And for each chapter, for most chapters, there's a QR code that you can scan, and then you can listen to a soundtrack that goes right along with the scenes that you are reading. The music is really, really beautiful, and it creates such an atmosphere as you read. It makes it a really immersive experience, and I loved that so much. And of course, I love the really sweet sibling relationship between Tala and Hototo. However, I did not like that there's so many violent scenes in this book. I mean, there's really graphic violence of people being decapitated and having their arms torn off. There's this one really creepy, like, zombie kind of mutant guy who tears people's hearts out and then, like, eats the heart. I mean, that's just nauseating, okay? That's just really gross. I kind of understand that violence is an important part of this story because it makes these deaths more meaningful, and it makes it more meaningful for our characters that they're striving to survive in such a violent world. But I feel like you could have accomplished that scariness and everything with off-screen deaths, you know? Like, you didn't have to show it quite so bloody and gory and graphic. You could have accomplished what you needed to in the story without it being quite so nasty. The artwork is incredibly beautiful. Every page is so colorful, so vivid. And I really love the designs for like these mutant animals and stuff. My favorite scene is this one. You can see each of the characters little. And they're all walking along, just trying to make it to safety. The ending is really cool. No spoilers, but it is just so unique and imaginative. I just never imagined that the story was gonna take that direction, and I loved it. This would have easily been a 4-star book, but because of the violence, I took it down to 3.5 stars. So I just have one more really short Rudyard Kipling poem to read today, and then I'm all caught up for the weekend. And I will be diving in with some more reading on Monday. Hi everybody, we're reading some books together.
No.
Don't you want to show your book to the camera? We're reading Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, and we're reading Georgie Dupree. You ready to read?
No.
Georgie Dupree, Classroom Confidence. Georgie Dupree wakes up ready for school. Georgie's family moved from Louisiana to Washington, D.C. I'm not too good to school. Georgie does 5 to 3 with friends. Georgie sees so many children at school. And her friends are not in the same class as her. We don't have any friends. Georgie studies 5 to 8 with class. Oh, she has a deep breath and goes into class. Whoop. Every day I try my best. I believe in myself and my abilities. Show off your muscles. You can do it. I will be kind and caring. And they all dance together.
I'm her.
You can be her?
Yeah.
Okay. The end. You love that book?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that book.
Now this one.
Okay, now this one. While she has been reading her books, I've read a little bit of The Girl from Montana, the middle novella here. So I'm only about to page 33 so far, but I'm really enjoying it, and it's a very exciting Western type adventure out in Montana. I've always liked Grace Livingston Hill books, and I'm enjoying this one. I haven't had much time to read since my little niece has been spending the night and we've been playing Barbies and having all kinds of fun. But I'm trying to get a little bit read while she's busy playing and everything. So when I finish this one, then I'll be back to tell you guys how much I liked it. So I've just finished Grace Livingston Hill's The Girl from Montana, and I loved it so much. So after her parents and her brother die, Elizabeth is left all alone in this remote cabin. When a group of rowdy men threaten her, she flees into the night, and she encounters a fellow traveler, a man who is lost. So they ride their horses across the wilderness together for a few days. They form a tentative friendship, but once they reach civilization, then they are separated again. And Elizabeth continues traveling on alone, trying to find her relatives in the East and hoping to find her friend once more. This is just such a sweet and wholesome story. I actually cried a couple times because Elizabeth's character is just so inspirational. She's so courageous and she suffers through a lot of terrible adventures, but she doesn't let the ugliness of life make her bitter. She's just brave and good and her heart is pure. She's a very complex character. Her personality is just so strong. And a lot of the side characters are very endearing and interesting as well. I really loved the way that this story is woven around the gospel message in such a natural way and in a way that is so integral to the story that it doesn't feel preachy. Both Elizabeth and her friend turn to hope in Christ during all of their dangerous adventures. And there's just such a clear and a powerful message of hope. And of course, I loved the sweet and slow romance. There's a little bit of insta-love, but I feel like it really fit in with the story. It makes sense that two people who are thrown into danger out in the wilderness together will naturally begin to have some feelings for each other pretty quickly. And they share meaningful conversations and experiences together that really just bind them together, bind their hearts together. So I didn't mind the slight insta-love because it really fit in with the situation of the story. It made sense, so it was fine. I gave this 3.5 stars and I really enjoyed it. So that is my update with what I've been reading for days 1 through 5 of the 30 Books in 30 Days September readathon. Please leave me a comment down below and let me know, what have you been reading these first few days? Are you on track with all the reading that you wanted to do, or are you falling behind? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and remember the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.